All right, so now we are going to start planning for language. And we're going to plan specifically for that academic language portion of our PBEL lesson plan. And then we're going to choose that language standard. Now, I want to remind you that language is threaded throughout. There's going to be language in your inquiry, there's going to be language in your solution development and sharing, there's going to be language in your entire PBEL. But we did want to create space to just strategically plan for using a language function. You may be using that language function in your solution sharing or in your inquiry, but we wanted to give you space to plan it out. Okay. All right. So we're going to revisit our climate change model. Remember that our driving question was, how can we use scientific predictions to help communities prepare for the impact of climate change? So we have a middle school science lesson, but language is threaded throughout because we are all language teachers, and even our content teachers need to strategically plan for that discipline specific discourse in their classroom. All right, so obviously, I want my students to be scientists. We're in our science classroom. We're talking about climate change. I can use that academic language function toolkit as a resource to help me figure out one language function or more than one that's really going to support my students. If we think about this climate change one, yes, they're doing analysis, right? They're analyzing these predictions and trying to understand them. But if I think about what I really want them to do, I want them to take that and I want them to make predictions about what's going to happen in a certain location and then help them solve it. All right. So we have that inferring, predicting, hypothesizing language function. We're going to use other language functions, but this is the one that we strategically planned for and included supports for. So then once I identify that language function, I want to explicitly teach it and explicitly practice it. Okay. So how did we do that? Well, we modeled what making a prediction using the Fitz Lab data looked like using that Florida example. So you'll see that down here. And then the students, you, but also students, practice it using Arizona. So first you gathered some new information about Arizona using the farming jigsaw, but then you looked at those Fitz labs and you had to sort of make a prediction about what would happen in Arizona due to those changes due to climate change. Okay, so notice the graphic organizer as support. In class, we'd probably do one in person and one individually, but there were opportunities to collaborate when we were learning about Arizona. And then being able to share those predictions and read other people's is really significant as well. All right, once you've kind of identified that language function and mapped out how you're gonna plan it, and how you're gonna teach it and how students are gonna practice it, we do want you to identify at least one speaking and listening or reading or writing. So one language standard. Even if you're a content teacher, I still want you to find one. All right, at least one that you are really going to strategically think about during your PBEL. So for this particular lesson, we chose truth or speaking and listening, which is a great place to start. Talking about presenting claims and findings and emphasizing salient points. That's exactly what we're doing right in this conversation. And then also just want to support that collaborative conversation that we want to hear with our students. All right, so this is your opportunity to plan. Remember that the model of what it looks in the lesson plan is going to be below this video. So you're planning that language standard and then also that academic language portion of your PBEL.